Good afternoon, good morning, and happy 2024, everybody. And welcome to the first episode of 2024's Vetonomics. Again, I'm Justin Henderson, aka Hendo, here with Recruit Military and Vetonomics. Background former Marine, but I've been helping veterans and organizations meet that match of veteran unemployment since 2006. And today's show is going to be a little bit different. Those who have been following me the last few years know that normally I like to review the jobs report at the beginning and then bring a guest in to help educate job seekers, veteran job seekers, on their value within certain industries, certain type of roles, and have corporate hiring authorities give that kind of their pitch of why veterans want to go into their industry. This month is going to be a little bit different, being that it's January. I thought it best if we just do a year in review and we look at 2023, see what industries were the winners, what industries were the losers, so to speak, in jobs, and really what we're looking at getting into 2024. There's a lot of mixed emotions and conversations going on right now. But I can tell you from what I do every day, which is talk to corporate hiring authorities all day, every day, have for 18 years, that the appetite to hire military is just as strong as it's ever been. But as we're getting into this cooling, more of a normalized economy after COVID, I feel like we finally balanced out, that you're going to see that the speed of hiring is slow down. They're more thoughtful when they do it, but they're still trying to find the right way to hire the right military talent for those roles. So first, let's jump into the presentation. Again, Vetonomics helping the economics of veteran hiring. But the December report was pretty good, more than anybody expected. I always think, I'm always hoping for about 100 to 150,000 jobs every month, because that gives you a good churn of hires, transfers, but not enough that it's going to really significantly impact inflation. So we had 165,000 jobs created last month. And if you look at the news, there's two numbers that are being thrown around: 29 million jobs created in 2023 and 27 million jobs created in 2023. The 2 million difference is the seasonal adjustment of work. So holiday work, things like that. But we're right now 3.7 for national, 3.2 for veteran. What's really neat is that marks December was the 23rd month in a row that our national unemployment has been under 4%. So that's pretty good. It's pretty wild to see. And if you see the numbers there, veterans are 5.5% of the U.S. workforce. We're 10% of the U.S. population, but we're 5% of the U.S. workforce. That gives you about 280,000 veterans looking for work around the country, compared to 6.2 million total populace looking for work. Now, as we look at the next slide, you'll see we talked about the number of jobs. It was 216,000 jobs created in December. Now, if you look at the November and the October, you may notice they're a little bit lower than they were when they were first released. They've moved those back. So now Q4 average hiring was 165,000 jobs per month. So really close to that 150 mark that I was hoping for. We get too high up in there, and that's when, and you can even look in the back where you can see inflation started to really run as hiring was going, everything else. What'll be really interesting is wages, as we go to the next slide, is wages are starting to increase too, which can be an impact on inflation, but not as much as borrowing and homes. And the home side is going to be interesting because mortgages are very expensive right now. What's happening is nobody's selling their house, because to go buy another house, you'd have to jump in from like a 3.5% to 7%. Nobody wants to do that. So people need to buy homes, but nobody's selling theirs. So that's creating a residential home market that's still building, still selling, that normally with interest rates at the point we're at, you wouldn't see. So that's really interesting. But industries by the numbers for 2023, it's what you would expect coming from the indoor market of COVID to the service market of the U.S. economy. 70% of our economy is run through us buying stuff. So As you would expect, transportation, warehouse were the biggest losers of 2023. Well, they were the biggest gainers of COVID. That just makes sense. And warehousing falls in line with that. And then where you see the big winners, government and healthcare over the last quarter, but you're also seeing leisure and hospitality boom again because we're going out more, we're buying more stuff, and construction because not only residential but commercial construction is still starting to move. The residential side is really what a lot of people are watching now. That is our biggest impact on inflation is our mortgage market. And then outside of that, you have the automobile too. But the mortgage market is really what people are looking at now as the Fed decides what to do. And you'll see here in the next slide, as far as the employment to population ratio, it's really interesting to see. You can't tell, but we're only 1 point away from the employment to population ratio we were pre-COVID. Now, developed markets, developed economies do not, that number continues to go down, that percentage rate. It's just part of the market. So you'll never really expect it to go all the way back up to where it was. But it's great to see that it's staying there. You know, COVID had the 70 plus year olds definitely retired from the market. The 60 plus year olds we lost a lot of seasoned experience work due to COVID. Our median age of our workforce is down over 1 year. So that just shows you how much seniority's left the market. But again, there's plenty of talent. Next slide, please. And we talk about this is where we talk about the employment and hourly earning by industry. And this is really cool because, you know, if you can look at the pictures, you'll see that, you know, manufacturing is kind of right in line with the mean. That wasn't the fact before COVID. You know, manufacturing had a very large increase over COVID, and you're going to see that continue to grow as we bring more and more assets back into the United States. For those that are following the CHIPS Act, which is the Semiconductor Act that was passed, that is $52 billion into the semiconductor industry and all their supporting assets that are coming into the United States. So that means Taiwan, you know, being that we're concerned that China can't take that over, majority of our manufacturing is in Asia and specifically Taiwan, a lot of our training centers. So all that's going to be coming back, and that demand is just going to increase. There's not as much supply, but demand's going to increase significantly over the next year or so in manufacturing. So I wouldn't be surprised end of Q1, end of Q2 that number isn't higher than the mean, that manufacturing isn't paying more, especially if you're somebody that works with your hands. You didn't do the college degree and sit behind a desk for a living. That's a great opportunity for career growth. We're seeing more and more companies in that industry removing requirements as far as education and go, no, if you've got the experience, we're going to value that. So if you're transitioning out, especially an enlisted person, you know, I highly recommend looking at manufacturing as a way to go. I did manufacturing when I first got out of the Marine Corps for 2 years as a production technician with the division of Sony. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the Japanese culture. I think that's why I took Japanese in college after that, and then why I work with so many Japanese-based companies now. But again, there's a great view of looking at the growth that they've had, each industry, not only from people they've employed, but also the compensation. It's really interesting. All right, next, inflation. I think this is the magic 8-ball. This is what everybody's trying to understand right now. Your corporate leaders you speak to, those that are your CFOs, your CEOs that are going, hey, what's the cost of us operating in 2024? That's a big deal right now. You have some companies that believe in a burn and that have certain burn rates they have to control, that, hey, we're going to lose a little bit of money, but as long as we keep making X amount and that our interest rates are this amount, we'll be fine. Well, what I saw when COVID hit, and then we saw that inflation jump over the last year or so, was those organizations that weren't growing responsibly, that had the burn rates, that were using debt to fund growth. Those numbers just flipped, and they immediately became unprofitable. and unsustainable. And I'm sure people watching now are aware of friends, relatives that were laid off from those younger companies that were just trying to grow as fast as they can because money was cheap. We're seeing now that definitely level out. You can see what's, our parents, or at least my parents, that bought houses in the 80s that talked about the 8, 9, 10%, 12% mortgage rates. We can see that right here. But it's great to see that we're going back down. We're not at the 2% inflation that the Fed's hoping for, but we're at 3.4 in November. The December one hasn't come out yet. So that is compared to the 4.1 we were the year before. So I really think with the job market not red hot, 200, 180, that we're averaging that 165 a month for Q4, that we're not going to burn so much that we're going to impact inflation on the employment market. It's really going to come March, April, May, when the housing market normally takes off, spring going into summer. We'll really see what impact that has on inflation. It's been nice to see that November, December, the housing real estate market has been steady. There's no spike, there's no lull, it's just been steady. So I think with that being said, the next quarter or so, we should be safe from any Fed raises or anything like that. So interest rates should be steadily falling unless something dramatic happens. So what does all this mean? It's just a quick breakdown. Again, a quick review. We talked about this 2.7. I use the 2.7 million for 2023. You're going to hear 2.9 or 2.7. 2.9 is total employment. 2.7 is seasonally adjusted. Unemployment rate moved from 3.5% to 3.7% this year. But the labor participation rate went from 62.3 to 62.5. So more people are working than they were December of 2022. Now, what's really interesting is in December, 700,000 people left the market last month, where October, November, we had more than that amount join. So I'm not quite sure what indication that is, because it wouldn't be seasonal because it was still December. I mean, that's when the malls and the Targets and all those Walmarts are hiring seasonally. So that's interesting. That's something we want to look at. It could be those marginally attached to the job market, the caretakers for family, be elders or children that work when they can and then have to pull themselves out depending on what's going on. So we'll keep an eye on that. What I do like is the personal savings rate is 4.1% compared to 3.3% the same time last year. And what's important about that is when the cost of money becomes expensive, credit card APRs go up significantly. So if we don't have a significant savings to lean on when those times are fluctuating in the economy, then credit card rates go up. Then you have credit card failures, right? Then you have bankruptcies, and then the pillars start falling. So to see personal savings growing over the year, remember all the subsidies from the government, all that have gone away. So we're seeing more responsible adults in America, which is nice to see, that we're not burning a bunch of credit card debt just to have some fun and get some Starbucks. So that's good. So for me personally, what I'm thinking is that all signs point to a soft landing. I'm really hoping that 2024 continues the way 2023 was, where we just had really great month after month improvements. But what we're seeing now are some fissures. But remember, those fissures are from a rebalance from COVID. The entire world was thrown indoors and their economy changed. But over the 2 or 3 years of coming back out, it's rebalanced. Now, yes, there's technology and some antiquated industries. Tech is really good at that, at finding opportunities to grow inside of those. So we're going to see that. But, warehousing, transportation, if you hear a layoff in that industry or force reduction, that's just the natural part of a rebalance of an economy. Same with the IT side. When you think everybody was indoors, everybody was using their computers, their internet, their phones, everything was using everything tech more. Tech was more involved in our life. And that we are rebalancing. We're outdoors more. We're going to restaurants, hence the reason that hospitality and leisure is growing so much. So yes, those industries will have some fissures and there will be layoffs, but I do not expect to see manufacturing plants laying off like crazy. I don't expect to see um, major department stores. It seems like our commerce is back. Our savings are good. The inflation rate's going down. Unemployment rate is where it needs to be. All signs point to 2023 was a good year, and we left it better than we ever expected. The economists really expected inflation rate to be well over 5% at this point, unemployment rate to be 4.5, 4.2. We really expected to be sitting in a recession right now with high inflation. And here we are in a strong economy, high labor participation rate, high savings rate, and inflation continues to go down. So this could be, I mean, right, fingers crossed, knock on as much wood as you can. This could be that proverbial soft landing that economists always talk about, but rarely do we see. And like I said today, unfortunately, I don't have a guest because we're all getting back into it, and I want to respect everybody's time. But I did want to put out the information that I gathered through reading the jobs report and just through my analysis and speaking with corporate America. So that being said, if you're a veteran job seeker, make sure you're leveraging your social media networks to go talk to as many veterans as you can as you get out, because this is the time. As we are, the further we get away from uniform, the more we want to talk to people in uniform. So my pitch here for 2024, if you're a job seeking veteran, leverage your social media. Me personally, I think LinkedIn, but any social media, engage with veterans, talk to people that are in industry that you're interested in, and see why they chose that industry and why they chose that job and what skill sets they learned out of the military help them be successful in that industry. It's a really big deal. And then I want to highlight this. I brought it up in December, but I want to bring it up one more time. LinkedIn does a U.S. veterans community report every year, LinkedIn Veteran Work Opportunity Report. And they just posted it in October, and I think it's great. We have about 18 million veterans in the United States. We're 7.4% of the U.S. population over 18. So that makes sense. I said 10% total, but 7.4 over 18 years old makes more sense. We have 8.5 million veterans in the U.S. workforce, 5.5% of the U.S. workforce. So we are small but mighty. And remember that if you're a hiring authority looking to hire military, remember we're only 5.5% of the workforce. We have a lower unemployment rate than a national. So when you're looking to speak with us, where you really want to hire a veteran, be very aware of what civilian experience you put on top of those requisitions that you're hoping to get a veteran for. Look at the whole human. Have a conversation. If a veteran resume comes across your desk, have a conversation. Talk to them for 5 minutes. You may be surprised what you learn, and you may teach them something that'll help them go find the right career. Really, really important. Now, next is the another stat that I like about, again, this is from the LinkedIn report, is our education. Veterans education talent pool, we have 60.5% have attained a bachelor's degree or higher. We're 3 times more likely to have a graduate degree than non-veterans, which is pretty neat. And skills. One thing we talk about the military, we're really good at breaking and fixing things. So having a technical acumen, even the infantry people, the door kickers, they've got equipment they have to maintain. They've got Humvees, they've got things that they need to be a hold of. So even they're considered maybe non-technical military standards, they are technical and technically minded, which is really interesting. And then underemployment, we've talked about, our unemployment level is lower because we're going to go do work, whatever we need to feed our family and accomplish the mission. But that might be 2 jobs. So underemployment is always something that the military has to deal with. It's 70%. It was like 73% was the last report of veterans have to take a step back in their career when they transition out of the military. And normally all that is to learn the lingo. It's like working on a PC your whole life. You get out and now you have to work on an Apple. There's still computers. They still have the same software. It's just different language, different processes, but you can adjust and move forward. I think that's really important if you're a hiring authority, is to understand that, hey, maybe that person doesn't have the same words on their resume that you're used to reading. That doesn't mean they can't do the job. One thing the military trains in all of us is to be evergreen, green and growing, as we say. And so it's not about where we are today. It's about where we plan on being tomorrow. And when you have those interviews, don't look at it as a static human. Look at it as, hey, what path are they going down? Is this path lead to where we need them to be? And I think that would be very, very informative. But again, it's Justin Henderson with Vetonomics and Recruit Military. I know this wasn't the normal 40-minute, 45-minute presentation that has 30 minutes of vet in corporate America talking to you about how to win the perfect job. But I want to make sure I got as much information out to you as I can so you could start off 2024 with a win. Now, that being said, I'm here. I've been here since 2006. I want to make sure if you need anything from me that you can reach out to me. So I'm on LinkedIn. I don't have any other social media, but on LinkedIn, I'm there, Justin Henderson. You can find me really easily. If you have questions about your career transition and really where your value points are and how to maybe present yourself in the best fashion, feel free to reach out to me and connect with me and we'll have a call. If you're a hiring authority that says, you know what, I really want to hire military, we're having a hard time finding the right people, please reach out to me. That's my forte. I'm able to train the brain of those hiring authorities on what the right value points are to look for in the military. And that's really important to make sure we get these men and women the right jobs for them. So again, it's Justin Henderson, aka Hendo with Vetonomics. Happy 2024, everybody. Look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn. And if I can help with anything, please, please, please reach out.